It's time for the season finale in the T6 TC Championship here on the T6 Motorsports YouTube channel. We've gone through 7 rounds of some really high intensity action. We've been from Imola, from Donington Park, Laguna Seca, Istanbul Park, the Nürburgring Spa and the Saxons Ring to come here to Brands Hatch and to Kent for the season finale and for the final round in 2024. Welcome along to what should hopefully be quite an exciting and prize givings evening's worth of racing. Delighted to have your company. My name, as always, is Darragh Thacker, joined as always now by Ashley Demon. Great to have you along, Ashley. But this is now the end of the championship. Every point needs to be won now, and there really is no room for drivers to be messing around with the points anymore.
No, absolutely not. Thanks for having me here once again. Always a pleasure as usual, and I'm very much excited for this finale. It's all been building up to this, and here we are. I mean, what a venue to really pick. It's an absolute British classic, loved by motorsport fans really all around the world, just as it is by us Brits as well. And yeah, I really couldn't think of a better place to finish this season off.
Yeah, and for these cars as well, it really will work an absolute treat. And as you said, great way to end our first T6 championship on rFactor 2. But this is how we sit going into the final round. Luke Mitchell holds quite a commanding lead, 37 points ahead of Callum Cripps, and a reminder that only 43 points can be won tonight. So Luke Mitchell only needing 7 points to claim the title. We'll see if he can do that in race number 1. Callum Cripps is second, and he's the only challenger, with Gasper Mrak a long way back and with a qualifying ban. So the driver who was once heavily in title contention is now at risk of losing his P3. Bobby Vakinov is fourth, although I do not believe Bobby is here this evening. Alan Axon could be the challenger for Mrak for P3 and the £75 in cash that will go along with it. Antonis Paparanopoulos is in P6 ahead of Ollie Lati, and Anton Temenga just about joining the 100 club, and we'll see if anybody else can do so. I think Callum Wilson will be eyeing that up as he sits on 97, but with Simon Trebek, Jordan Osborne, Tom Hackett and David Zoes, we'll have to see who of those can get themselves inside the top 10. Stu Neal and Rhoda Uhalal are on 50 points. They've just about crossed that threshold. We'll see if they can stay there tonight with Jamie Potts and Hero Calleja, 16th and 17th. Car going wide in the background. As we look at Sam Butters, Yaroslav Fires and George Prieto inside the top 20. It's John Pound and Miller Bestahoff who are still above water, along with Paul Amos, mind you, with Emmanuel Lopez, Jason Taylor and Samuel Newhouse, who are just ever so slightly below the surface. And if any of them are here this evening, we'll be hoping to get themselves towards the front. Well, I say towards the front, towards 0 points, if not a little bit over. But we're into qualifying. We're getting towards the end of qualifying as well. And actually, I don't think we could have expected anything less than Callum Cripps and Luke Mitchell, the two title contenders, being split by 1/4 of a second going into this qualifying session.
No, you really couldn't. I mean, it's what we kind of expected going into it. I'm sure Callum would like it the other way around, you know, just to get that extra point here in qualifying itself. But I think Luke Mitchell, he's done everything he needed to do. I think Saxon Ring last time out was really sort of the nail in the coffin for Callum Cripps, with the first race not going his way. But it's still all to play for. It is not over until it is over, of course, and so it's up for grabs. But at least he does have, well, one hand, I think, firmly on the team's championship with his teammate Callum Wilson, currently running second and third provisionally. So he's not going to be going home with nothing, and he'll still, if he does finish second, he definitely won't be going home with nothing.
Oh, absolutely not. And second, of course, overall, £125 worth of cash from Rich Weatherall, the man himself. Of course, if you win the championship, which is what Luke Mitchell is hoping to close out in doing so, thanks to Phoenix Sim Racing, our sponsors, of course, we are giving away a brand new Cammus C5 DD wheelbase and wheels. So it's a bad little prize there. I wouldn't mind one of those for free, absolutely not, but I'm not quick enough to get alongside the likes of Luke Mitchell, who on a 27.5 is really setting the timing page alight. Callum Wilson's improved his time just now, but only to a 27.6. I say only, it's not good enough for the front row, even though he's within 1/10 of the pole time.
No, not good enough, but yeah, you can see that the top three, under 1/10 between them. Very, very close times indeed. Kyan Lati not a million miles away with Alan Axon, and then you have a little bit of a jump back to Temenga, Trebek, Osborne, Uhalau and the likes around there. But yeah, front three separated very well by absolutely nothing. You can cut it with a knife almost. But yeah, it's going to be interesting because if it is so close here in qualifying, the racing itself is going to be brilliant. And a circuit such as this, there's not many chances for an overtake. It is quite tricky around this circuit. I'm thinking turn number 1, Paddock Hill Bend, or maybe even the final corner of Clark. Those are sort of your real good chances because a lot of the circuit does come down to momentum.
It does, and as you said, not too many overtaking opportunities means that if drivers really need to make some moves and they need to make them effectively and quickly, they're going to have to make sure that it's done, well, really, in as soon as time as possible. You can't be hanging around. You can't be just sticking a nose down the inside because your front end's going to be chopped off and you are going to be finding yourself either spinning into a barrier or having a little bit of contact. It's not going to go well for you. So really key to get a good qualifying position, and this is the last chance for a lot of the drivers to get a time on the board. We may see another lap time or two from the likes of Luke Mitchell, Callum Cripps, Callum Wilson, but I don't, well, not from Callum Wilson indeed, he's in the pit lane, but the likes of Ollie Kayanlati may just about get to start another lap time with 5 seconds on the clock. Everybody now, from just about now as Callum Cripps crosses the line, means that the next time you cross the line it's going to be the checkered flag. It's now or never for these guys.
Yeah, certainly is, as Luke Mitchell down on his personal best in the first sector. Like you said, Callum Cripps just about made it before the checkered flag came out, so he's on his final flying run too. A lot of drivers already in the pits not making improvements, but there are still a few out there on a flyer. Jordan Osborne is one of them. He's gone green in the first sector, so that's his personal best, as we are still looking here with Luke Mitchell. Back down to Jordan Osborne though, through this final sector now, and he's absolutely pushing it, I'm sure, to the limit of what he can muster. Also green in the middle sector. Only one proper corner left to go here. This is Clark. Bit of a tricky one to try and navigate, but if you can nail it, you can gain a lot of time onto the start-finish straight here. What's it going to be as he comes up to the line? Was it an improvement? It was. Gone to 6th. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Good little improvement there from Jordan Osborne, just to get himself onto what is currently the 3rd row. Rado Halal finding the grass and trying to get himself to the M25, not being successful in doing so, but will stay down in P9. Luke Mitchell wasn't going to be improving, and neither was Callum Cripps. So that will be session over here for the season finale. And here are our qualifying results. It's a 27.584, which is the pole time from Luke Mitchell, but he's only taken it by 1/4 of a tenth of a second. Callum Cripps is just going to come up a little bit short, and it's going to make the maths a hell of a lot harder for him to try and win the title. Callum Wilson is going to be in P3 as those two teammates, the two Callums, are looking to wrap up the team's title tonight, with Ollie Kayanlati starting alongside them on the 2nd row. Alan Axon and Jordan Osborne are on row 3, with Anton Tomenga and Simon Trebek on row number 4. Rada Uhalal and Jason Taylor round out our top 10. Alan Taylor a little bit further back from the rest of the top 8, but they're going to be pretty close to the battle, like you have to say, for the back end of the top 10, with the likes of Prieto, Fai, Zoes and Amos, who all set lap times for Gasper Mrak and John Pound. They had qualifying bans, which is why you'll find themselves we'll find them in 15th and 16th. I do know that Antonis Paparanopoulos also had a qualifying ban, but I'm unsure whether he's A, served it, or B, not bothered at all. So we'll find out that in the next couple of minutes. But with the point for pole, Luke Mitchell's championship gap becomes 38, and for Callum Cripps there's now only 41 points left on the table, which means even with, or 42 I should say, even with a perfect run to the end with a win and fast lap for Callum Cripps, all Luke Mitchell needs to wrap up the title will be P10. That is all he needs now, Ashley.
Yeah, it's very doable, particularly being on that pole position. I can't really see him losing it at this very point. But you know, if it does sort of swing in Callum Cripps' favour, I think it's going to be an absolute miracle that's dropped into his lap. But we'll have to wait and see. You know, crazy things have happened, and they always do in sort of motorsport. You can never be certain what is going to unfold before you. But you know, I want to see what Casper Marat can do here. He's fighting for that podium. He's fighting for prize money at the end of the day. And the fact that he has had that qualifying ban, he's going to be starting right at the back, and he does need to make sure he can get ahead of Alan Axon. And Alan Axon, we know, is no slouch. He's been Mr. Consistency, and if he can get onto the, you know, if he can get a good point score here, then there's a good chance he's going to take home that prize money for 3rd position.
And I mean, £75 is no insignificant sum of money. I mean, it's a pretty nice little payday for a Tuesday night league that you've done for a couple of months, isn't it? So, absolutely, I think Gaspar Marak is going to be looking to work his way through the order in race 1, maybe try and get into the reverse grid, which should be a little bit easier considering that there aren't too many cars on the circuit here tonight. So, with the reverse grid being from anywhere from 6th, from the top 6, I should say, to the top 12, Gaspar Marak definitely has a chance at getting himself into that reverse grid and maybe holding off Alan Axon for that P3 in the championship. But Axon will rate his chances, especially considering his starting position. He'll fancy to have the lead against Marak and being P3 in the championship going into that final race, I think.
I mean, that's what he's going to be hoping for, isn't it? I mean, that's the best result for him. It's going to be interesting, though, because with the reverse grid, when we do get to that, we'll have to see how far Marak can climb in that opening race and probably in the opening couple of laps, because I feel like once these drivers have settled into a bit of a rhythm, I think overtaking is going to come at a bit of a premium. And the other thing to watch around this circuit, the grass on the outside of it is so close. It is closer than you actually realise. Of course, it comes right up to the circuit edge. That's a given. But when you're sat in the cockpit of that car, on the sim, you don't realise it, but suddenly your wheel's touching the grass, and next thing you know, you're facing the wrong direction.
Some of these corners are slightly blinder, aren't they? Difficult to really see the exit before you get to it. I'm thinking more at the top of the circuit, at the Grand Prix circuit, at Hawthorne, at Westfield, down at Sheen. So, yeah, it's a very tricky little circuit, especially for a championship finale when the pressure's on and you're pushing for every single millimetre. I mean, you had a little bit more breathing room at tracks like the Saxon's Ring, where a lot of those long left and right handers have quite a wide bit of runoff, or the circuit is very wide on the entry, so you have a little bit of wiggle room. Here at Brands, there is none of that, and you'll see it through here. If you go a little bit wide, perhaps over that curve a little bit too much as you run through Westfield, and you're going to be all out of shape as you come through Dingle Dell here at Sheen's then. So it's a real challenge, and drivers have to be up to it. And they've got to be up to it immediately, because if you lose a heap of positions on lap 1, that could be championship over, particularly in Callum Cripps' case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the characteristics of the circuit are as such because it is such an old circuit. The first sort of actual British Grand Prix held round here was sort of 1964, but its roots go all the way back to 1950s when it was more for sort of motorcycle racing. It started out as a dirt circuit itself before they paved it with all the tarmac that you see. So it's got a long history as Brands, but that's also where the nature of it comes into it, built in this sort of lovely natural amphitheatre and goes with the contours of the soil it's laid down on. So it's a bit of interesting history if you like that kind of stuff. But that's why it is the way it is. But I absolutely love it. I couldn't think, like I said, couldn't really think of anywhere better to finish off a touring car championship. It's made for this kind of racing.
And you're right to mention the setting, because I think one of the underrated elements of the circuit is the elevation change and the camber change. Particularly down the opening couple of corners up to Druids, where you dive down paddocks and then rise up to Druids. It really is some dramatic changes in elevation. We are, of course, in the, I believe it's the North Downs in Kent, just outside the M25, near the M2, for those of you who may want to go and visit. There's a lovely little Roman fort nearby. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. But it is a lovely place to go racing, and I'm really interested to see how Turn 1 is going to work out, especially with drivers trying to drop the clutch and get themselves going. Now, before we get too bogged down in getting ready for this race, let's run through the grid for what we will see for race number 1. I've been notorious in forgetting to do this until a little bit later on the laps. We'll do it early on, and Luke Mitchell will be on pole. Cripps and Wilson, the two Callums, are second and third. Those two teammates are going for the team's championship. Ollie Kayan-Larty is going to be on row number 2 alongside Callum Wilson. Alan Axon and Jordan Osborne are on row 3 with Anton Temenga and Simon Trebek. I mean, a bit of a similarity between those 4 cars. They're 5th through 8th. Raider Uhalal is in P9 ahead of Jason Taylor, who rounds out the top 10, with George Prieto and Yaroslav Fajs in 11th and in 12th. We'll see what they can do from row number 6. We've got David Zervez, Paul Amos, Gaspar Marak and John Pound on row 7 and rows 8. Gaspar Marak already in a points-paying position. Not something you would have said from a driver receiving quali ban in the opening couple of rounds. But with those 16 drivers, I do believe that will be it. No Antonis Paparanopoulos for us tonight. But we have still got big championship ramifications to decide here, actually. The championship's still on the line. P3 in the championship still very much on the line. And even other positions inside the top 10, which these drivers are really going to value.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, you're always fighting for championship points at the end of the day, you know, and it is, points do mean prizes, quite literally. So, yeah, a lot on the line, as you added, and I will say, Darragh, I'm glad you got through the grid, because it is such a short lap here. I think we're probably going to see the longest, well, the most amount of laps we've seen all season, because it is so short and it is so quick as well. And that's going to be a different factor again for this race, you know, a different skill set that these drivers are going to have to bring to the table as they are beginning to line up on the grid now. You can see their pole position, Luke Mitchell on the right hand side, so he'll have that better defensive line into turn number 1. Let's see if Callum Cripps has anything to say about it though.
Yeah, we're going to get ready then for this race, because we did have Donington Park earlier on in the season. That was just about a minute's worth of a lap, so we're not going to have as many as we had there. But still going to be incredible action for the season finale, penultimate race of the season. But Luke Mitchell can win the championship if he gets a good launch. It's not been the perfect start for him, though, as Callum Cripps is going to be right around his outside as we dive down paddocks. Cripps knows that he has to win the race. He needs to hope that Luke Mitchell has an air as well, but he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing off at the start. His teammate Callum Wilson looking to follow him up the inside, but into Woodruis, there's no room there for him to make any kind of inside move. Kyan Larty holding station in P4, Axon holding station in P5. They found that in the background, but it's another good start for Gasper Marak. He's up 3 early on.
Yeah, that was perfect start for Callum Cripps, exactly what he needed. He's been pretty good at the actual launches away from the starting blocks, and he's shown it there once again, getting into the lead through turn number 1. And like you mentioned there, Gasper Marak up 3 as well. Don't forget though, Jason Taylor, he's up 2 into 8th, and Simon Trebek has also gained 2 to 6th position. But you know, now it's going to be a bit trickier to get the overtaking done. Everyone's up to racing speed, and it is quite difficult to get past another car around here. You really have to be committed, or your rivals really do have to make a bit of a slip up in order to get the move done.
Yeah, very, very tricky to make moves at this part of the circuit. The Grand Prix part of the circuit, of course, the Indy layout is used in some smaller machinery, even smaller than these touring cars, but we're using the full Grand Prix layout, as you'd expect here this evening, but it's helping out Callum Cripps because he's pulling away a touch from Luke Mitchell on this opening lap. 1 minute 30 gone, a very long way still to go, and a lot more to decide. But Gasper Marak is going to have to find a way to pick his way through the order, because he cannot afford to stay in P12. The issue for him is, though, look, he's having to defend because David Zerves is coming around the outside, and Gasper Marak cannot afford to be defending at this stage.
Yeah, that was. I was just watching that. The car in front of him, Prieto, absolutely getting it completely sideways through Paddock Hill Bend there, and well done for saving the car as well. He's still in 11th position ahead of Gasper Marak. We're going to jump back to the leaders though here. Callum Wilson, Luke Mitchell, Callum Cripps, all fighting out for all these podium spots at the moment. No moves to be made just yet. This is the sort of circuit where you're having to play a little bit of cat and mouse really with your rivals, you know, maybe try and force them into an area, you know, make a little look up the inside, but then try and maybe sell them a dummy and make them make that mistake. That's what this kind of racing is going to be. As Luke Mitchell goes wide, but he's going to come back onto the circuit. I don't think that's going to cost him anything there, but that was a close call for the current champion-elect.
It really does hammer home your point about how the side of the circuit can be very, very difficult to judge. Radio Halal was going very slowly there as he made his way through Westfield Bend. He's dropping down the order, and he's now down into P13, promoting the likes of Marak Zerves. Prieto up a position, another position from where they were. So Radio Halal struggling a touch, maybe had a little bit of contact, maybe just had a bit of a mistake on his own. Meanwhile, it's Alan Axon trying to force the issue against Oli Karjanlahti. A P4 would be ideal for him. He doesn't necessarily know if Gasper Marak is going to be involved in a reverse grid, but he doesn't really want to hang around and find out. He wants to try and get as many points on the board as early as he can. And getting ahead of Karjanlahti is going to be mission number 1 for him.
Yeah, absolutely. In all of that, Marak made another position. He got past Prieto for 10th, so his reverse grid pole chances are increasing by the lap at the moment, as this looks like Luke Mitchell with a chance to try and take the lead back from Callum Cripps, where he brilliantly took into turn 1 on the opening lap, but no way through there at turn number 4. Up now towards Hawthorne Bend, probably one of the faster corners on this circuit. He's going to have a look around the outside, then Has he got the run? Can Callum maybe defend the inside? He's braked late. He's just about got ahead with that defensive line. Luke Mitchell going to maybe try and come back up and under. This is such a treacherous part of the circuit. Normally there's only really one racing line, and yeah, things stay as they are, but Wilson now maybe overlooking.
Yeah, Cripps just decided to defend the inside line and try and keep himself on the circuit, defend the inside into the next corner. Exactly what he did, executed it perfectly, and is still ahead, but it is looking pretty fraught up at the front with not even 5 minutes gone on the clock. This is lap 3 of the race. I'm looking at the idea that we're likely going to have about 16, 17 in that sort of range. So a lot of time for these moves to be made, but again, Alan Axon doesn't want to be waiting around for too much longer. On the back of Ollie Kayonlati, but down into Thelma once again at paddocks. He's not got a choice but to stay in behind. Maybe ascending to Druids is in order. He's more than close enough to try and go for a lunge. A defensive line throw by Kayonlati means that Axon doesn't really get a sniff and will continue in P5, but here come the cavalry. Tribeck, Osborne, Taylor all in tow.
It almost feels like Kayonlati is a bit of a cork in the bottle here, just based off of the fact that he has got a nice big train lining up behind him. But I mean, you know, if you can get a good exit on corners such as this for Surtees and down this straight, you know, it's going to be very difficult to actually make a move. The other corner I would think about that is sort of turn 1 paddock hill, turn 2 Druids if you get a good run out of the first one. So, you know, as long as you're getting good traction out of the important corners where there is an overtaking chance at the next one, he should be able to stay ahead, because it is so difficult. As car in the back there getting it all sorts of wrong on the grass, trying to think who that is. It looks to me like Jason Taylor.
Yes, I believe it was Jason Taylor getting it all wrong. Excuse me. Excuse me, water going down the wrong, going into my lungs. That's not where it should be going. Yeah, Jason Taylor getting it all wrong on the exit there and going a little bit wide and on the grass, but not losing too much time. And that's a theme that we are seeing, a theme as well, that Luke Mitchell is trying to go for the lead around the outside at turn 1. He's trying to go around the outside pretty much everywhere. Can he do it at turn number 1?
No, doesn't look like it this time, and it's now going to be, can he get the up and under back for Druids of turn number 2, but Callum Cripps showing him exactly where he wants to park his car, and Luke Mitchell going to have to try and work around that. This is allowing Callum Wilson though to absolutely get into the fight. That was a dart and a half there to have a look up the inside of turn number 3, but no way through them for Wilson there. Mitchell absolutely trying everything at the moment to see if he can make a move on Callum Cripps. I don't quite think he's chucked the kitchen sink at it yet, but it may come to that, who knows.
Yeah, oh, and there's a little bit of contact and sliding between, I believe that was Taylor and Osborne as they worked their way through and out on towards Vinit Pilgrim's drop, but very difficult to see if Gas Marak was going to get through. He doesn't in the end, but he was all over the grass to try and get through on Jason Taylor. Jason Taylor was just having absolutely none of it as they run their way now through. Marak, though, inside line. This is going to be bold and brave. Can he get this one done in the Aga car? Yes, he can. He's gone very wide indeed. I think in the real world he might have to hand that one back, and a little bit of flash of the lights from Jason Taylor, but Marak is through up to P8, and he now has a 4 in 7 chance of being involved in that reverse grid at the moment.
Absolutely. I don't think he has to hand that one back personally. I think that's a fair move. He's just got a little bit wide on the exit, but he just about, I would say, kept it on. But yeah, touch and go with that one for Gaspar Marat, but he's up to 8th position. 7 positions gained then in total as he goes chasing after Jordan Osborne, and right in front of him would be Alan Axon, the man he needs to close down in order to try and hold on to 3rd in the championships. Quite an impressive run so far from Gaspar Marak, but we're going to jump back to the leaders once again. This is Callum Cripps still from Luke Mitchell and his teammate then Callum Wilson behind. Luke Mitchell's gone for the outside on the occasions we have seen so far. He might have to try and switch up his tactics though, because that hasn't worked for him at the moment.
No, and we're nearing on 10 minutes, and this pressure has been sustained from Luke Mitchell. There's no way through for the time being. He doesn't need to force this issue, of course. He is in a championship winning position, as is the team of Callum Cripps and Callum Wilson. So somehow, at the moment, at the end of this opening race, all 3 on the podium would be a championship winner thanks to the result, just in the different sides, drivers and teams. But Luke Mitchell, I think, wants to go for the glory. He doesn't just want to win it, running behind his championship rival. He wants to win it by beating his championship rival, by dominating the rest of the field, as Gasper Marak goes up the inside of Jordan Osborne, I should say, and he's got P7. Osborne back around the outside, though. I think he's got that one back. Incredible move from Osborne.
That was really gutsy from Jordan Osborne there. I love that. Want to see more of that, if anything. Well done to him to take that position back from Marak. But here's the chance for Luke Mitchell. Can he go round the outside of Paddock Hill, turn number 1? Tyres screeching for grip, but he's now going to have to try and go down the inside for Drew, as he has got the line, but he has been outbraked by Callum Cripps, who's absolutely slammed the door in his face. Still no way through for Mitchell, but he's looking like he really wants to get this win on the road, even though he doesn't need to.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, he would only, with the pole and fastest up, he'd only even lose 1 point to Callum Cripps overall, as, 20 points for the win, 17 for second, +1/+1 for the added extras, makes it 20 to 19, so it wouldn't even be that bad. If this wasn't a championship decide, Marak defending, that was Jordan Osborne trying to sneak up the inside, not going to work out, and Osborne flashing the light, showing his displeasure of that attempted move, but Marak now up into P7 clearly, and now has a 6 in 7 chance of being in that reverse grid. Axon is still in P6, and he's behind Simon Trebek now, who's going after Kai and Larty. This is really frantic, but difficult to make moves, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing with this circuit as well, like I said earlier, the grass is really close to the edge. There's that, so I'm looking round the outside, but, if you find yourself going ever so slightly wide out of some of these corners, and believe me, it's an easy thing to do if you're pushing so hard, with the camber, the nature of the circuit itself, you can easily dip a wheel in, I should say, and you do lose a couple of attempts, and that is all your rivals need at this sort of level of racing, to absolutely then send one down the inside, take the move, and he'll say thank you very much as he goes on through. But yeah, at the moment, a lot of these guys, this could be one that we're talking about, as I say. Kai Larty just dipping his wheel into the gravel, but not enough for Axon to get alongside.
Now we'll stay as they are. As it stands, by the way, Jason Taylor getting himself inside the top 9 means that he would get himself above water and into positive figures to close out the season. So that's positive news for him. But still, over half of this race left to go to see who will get themselves inside that top 10. Big battle involving Prieto, Zoes, Temenga is ongoing down there. Trebek still hounding Kai and Larty, but as is Axon on Trebek. So this little trio really are applying the pressure on each other. Trebek looking for the move, quite being able to get it to the inside as they run their way through Hawthorne, and nothing happening again as they run through Westfield. So they will run line of stern. The only issue for these guys could be Gasper Marak, who is gaining a few tenths a lap now. The gap was 4 seconds when he overtook Jordan Osborne, now down to 3.3.
Yeah, at that rate, he'll be on the back of them within 3 laps' time, because it was, I think, 4 seconds a lap ago. So if he keeps that pace up, it won't take him long at all. I feel sorry for Rich here at the moment, Darragh. He's got 3 battles that he could potentially jump to. He's probably struggling of which one to pick. We've got the leaders having a battle. We've got this little trio here for 4, 5 and 6. Don't know what that was in my voice. Gasper Marak closing down as well. And then you've got that little quartet as well behind, all very close to one another. And like to be in his shoes of which to pick at the moment, but yeah, I'm sure he'll absolutely provide us some thrilling coverage to look at. There's still no way through though for Alan Axon at the moment.
Yeah, and he'll have to continue on. It's difficult for Alan Axon, mainly because he's not his championship rival for the title, but his championship rival for P3 and 75 Spondoolies is directly behind him now, Gasper Marak, and gaining fast. So he needs to try and do something about this. He's at the moment definitely going to be in the reverse grid. The top 6 will absolutely get reversed. It's a question of could it be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 or 12. A little bit of a move from Trebek, bit of a wide line from Kai and Larty, but they're still going to be able to get themselves through the exit without much more than a scratch. So really good defensive work from Ollie, Kai and Larty, and he's hanging on to this P4 with all of his might. He's bringing in like Osborne Taylor. But he's doing a good job defending P4, and that is task number 1, because these 3 actually far and away up the road. I don't think they're going to be challenged for a podium at this rate.
I don't think so, unless it all goes terribly wrong. They seem to be pretty checked out at the moment, but you know, these two absolutely fighting like madmen, possessed almost in a way. Callum Cripps, Luke Mitchell doing their utmost to try and defend, and of course make a move at the same time between the two of them. It's still got the advantage for Cripps, you know, after that amazing move into turn one, and at the moment his defensiveness as well has been absolutely on point. You know, you can't really say he's put a foot wrong at the moment because he's still in the lead as Wilson watches on from the best seat in the house, you could say. But this is the second little trio having a good battle for fourth. Kyle Larty still leads there from Trebek and Axon. I don't remember seeing Trebek and Axon swap it round, but maybe you know, the teammates are feeling, well, you know, you have a try, I can't seem to get through. See if you can manage it.
Yeah, it was certainly at least a few laps ago that those two swapped around, so it's been a little bit of a decent amount of time for Simon Trebek to get this move done, and he's still not able to do it. Trying to find the line around the outside this time. Not going to happen there. Maybe dive into the inside. Again, not happening on lap number 10 in this race. All the while, Gasper Marak getting ever bigger in the wing mirrors. That gap now down to 1.8 seconds between Alan Axon and Gasper Marak, and Marak gaining all of the time with these three tripping over each other just a little bit. Jordan Osborne and Jason Taylor are being dragged into this as well. They are gaining overall to this battle for P4, so the longer that Kyan Larty can defend and make his car as wide as he possibly can, P4 is open to quite a lot of the grid here.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'd hate to be in Axon's shoes right now, if I'm being honest. You know, you got your championship rival, well, you not championship rival, but you know, your rival for that podium spot, and like you say, you know, prize money on the line, and that blue car ever increasing in size as the laps wear on, and we've just got under the 10-minute mark now, so it's in the latter stages of this race. You know, tyre wear might be starting to play a factor with some of these guys potentially, although I'm sure they're absolute pros at saving them now. But yeah, if I was Axon, I'd be incredibly nervous because Gasper Marak is now just only a few tenths behind as Luke Mitchell trying once again the move for the lead.
Yeah, around the outside once again. We've seen this attempted so many times. We've not seen it being pulled off, and yet again we won't see it here on lap 11 of this opening race of the evening. Outside line for Simon Trebek is going to work because he has the overlap to Ollie Kyan-Larty. Kyan-Larty this time has no answer, and Trebek is into the top four. Kyan-Larty though steaming back down the inside. Not going to happen for him, but here comes Alan Axon with Gasper Marak right in the wing mirrors. Can Axon make this move? He needs to be careful because Marak is right behind him, and Axon's great chances of a top three in the championship could be getting a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely under threat here, but he's now got his teammate ahead of Kyan Larty, so they can work together here and help each other out, try and make some moves possible, shall we say, particularly with Simon Trebek now leading these four cars as they come across the start-finish line to begin their lap number 12. But a little bit of a gap forming there. I wonder if that's just Axon maybe thinking about the defensive move, but Kyan Larty's going to try it round the outside. Paddock Hill Bend, still both on the circuit, the pair of them, as they make their way up to Druids. It's now going to be Trebek with the advantage and that inside line. Can Kyan Larty hold it around the outside? I don't think it's possible, but here comes Axon. Through he goes. There's going to be a bit of contact, and Kyan Larty late on the brakes, still holding true and defending that position. And now Gasper Marak wants in.
And Marak's going to get it ahead of Alan Axon, and Marak is now up 9 places on where he started. He was P15 when the lights went out. He's now up into P6, and he is a stone's throw from P4 now. So great stuff and great opportunism there for Gasper Marak as he's worked his way into the top 6. Axon with a little bit more work to do. Mitchell trying a bit of an up and under. Not going to work out for him as they dive their way through Dingle Dell, but this really is heating up. 7.5 minutes to go, and this is the kind of, well, it was everything we hoped for and more, isn't it, Ashley, at Brands Hatch?
Oh, absolutely. It's a duel, isn't it? It's on. You know, I think Luke Mitchell, if he finishes here in second, it doesn't matter. He's got that title sewn up, but he's really wanting the glory, isn't he? He wants to actually be first on the road to say that he is the champion. I'm trying to remember when he actually last was on the top step. I'm going to have a double check of the championship standings here. You have to go all the way back, I believe, to the first round. Laguna Seca was the last time he took the top step, and he's desperately wanting it again here.
it has been such a long time, but for Luke Mitchell, the second and the third at the Nürburgring, a bad result at Spa, followed by a podium at the same event, with 2 second places at the Sachsenring, and currently heading for another second place. So it would be, what would that be now, 7 or 6 podiums, I should say, since his last win. It's really all he's needed to do. The only issue is he may feel a little bit aggrieved that he only has 3 wins to his name over the course of the season, despite racking up 234 points in 15 races, when realistically you can only get 20 a race. So really showing how consistent he has been, and that's why he's currently at the top of the tree. Callum Cripps missing the round at Donington Park, costing him dearly. It cost him 42 points if you think about the fact that Luke Mitchell took 42 points that evening. If you wipe off Donington Park, Callum Cripps is still in a net championship lead here, so his non-attendance there is going to be costly in the end. But little mistakes at the Sachsenring last week early on, it actually at turn number 2 cost him a big heap of points, and I think he'd say that little issues at Imola as well have cost him big time.
Yeah, you absolutely could say that. I mean, you know, it's always if buts and maybes when you think about a championship like that. You know, you've got the hand that you've been dealt at this point. You've just got to try and make it work as best you can. But you know, you're always hoping you're not getting a 7 and 2 and it is pocket aces. But either way, you know, Callum Cripps, he's winning this race. He's doing everything that he needs to do right now in order to try and keep this championship alive. But like, you know, he's looking for a miracle here. That, you know, Luke Mitchell may not be right behind him, but you know, he is, and Luke Mitchell's done that, you know, time and time again. He's been so consistent, and once again, it does come down to consistency. That's how you win championships, and Luke Mitchell is very much a champion of consistency in that regard.
He is, but what is the one thing that could happen, Ashley, to start race 2 that could disrupt that consistency as much as possible? Thinking about a reverse grid.
Oh, it's going to be Gaspar Marac on pole, potentially, if it's the minimum amount. But you know, it's going to be
no.
contact,
I'm thinking,
isn't it?
what could cause the most chaos on a reverse grid?
Oh, go on, enlighten me.
I think the top 12 being reversed could cause the most chaos, and I've got news for you, Ashley. The top 12 are going to be reversed in this race to give us the grid for race number 2. So even if the championship is sewn up for Luke Mitchell, we still could get quite an exciting end to the season. Now, positions like this, Anton Tomenka fighting with Jason Taylor is for P4 on the grid. Whoever wins out here, what a move from Anton Tomenka to go around the outside and get that one done. Gaspar Marac now going for Kajan Larty. Alan Axon in behind. Axon sliding his way through, holding the car. There's 3 laps to go here, but the drama is just intensifying.
Absolutely is. That was impressive from Tomenka to go round the outside there at Sheen's corner. You don't see that every day. So you could take that one to the bank, because that's going to be a memory there forever for him. But, you know, moving forward there, you had Gaspar Marac almost getting past Kajan Larty. Axon with the little clip. It's still not over. And like you say, drama just intensifying as we're getting into the closing stages now. Just over 3 minutes left. So you've probably got 2 laps, maybe 3 at a push. I think we're closer to the 2 mark. But either way, time is running out for Luke Mitchell to try and make the move on Callum Cripps as we make our way through Hawthorne's Bend now. Not really a way through round the back here, but, well, unless you're Tomenka, he clearly made it work.
Well, as it stands, the reverse grid pole sitter is George Prieto, who has 16 points this season. That is less than Luke Mitchell has won on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 separate occasions so far this season in a single race. So this could really be a reverse grid for the ages to wrap up what has been a fantastic opening season on rFactor 2 here at T6 Motorsports. Cripps still hanging on for dear life. 2 laps to go for him to try and hold on. We won't cross the line too much after, or too long after I should say, the timer hits 0, but we do definitely have 2 to go. Cripps is being climbed upon by Luke Mitchell, and he's forcing a little couple of errors wide at turn number 1, and Cripps clearly feeling the pressure.
He's absolutely pushing him to the limit, and probably feels like a little bit beyond as well. But you know, Cripps is soaking it up at the moment. It's can he soak it up for these next 2 laps as well? That's going to be the big question hanging over their heads and shoulders. But you know, we'll come back to that in just a short moment's time, because we've still got this battle going on, and this is for 3rd in the championship between Gaspar Marac, Alan Axon, 6th and 7th respectively. But you know, Trebek, Kajan Larty, they're not they haven't pulled away. They're not completely out of the picture here. If Murat can make another move, even if Axon can make another move, it could swing the championship again for these guys and where they finish.
But with the reverse top 12, it really keeps it open because Axon and Murat, Axon will be ahead of Murat on the starting grid, and as it stands would go into that race 3 points back. He wouldn't win on countback either, so he would need to overturn that by 4, but having a better starting position in the mid-pack could be really, really crucial. A lot can happen in the mid-packs. We've seen that so far this season. And so you're going to have to be careful as we get going green in another, 10 minutes time or so, maybe just less than that. Maybe a bit of a move from Alaxon and Gasparak, not quite, as they dive their way on the brakes in towards what is Sterling's bend, but they'll now come through the final turn at Clark Curve and get themselves to the white flag, because there's only one to go in the penultimate round of the season. And let's see how these guys go. It's a battle for P5 back here, still a battle for the lead, and there's also a battle for P9 and 10 and 11 going on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting close to together there on the exit of Padded Bend. This is a chance for Axon. He's going for that inside line. Can he get later on the brakes? Isn't quite able to do so. Has to tuck right up and under Gaspar Murat once again. Now down towards Graham Hill. Left-hander, nice easy corner. You can run it a little bit wide there, but it shouldn't be any problems as they now come towards Surtees. Murat's still in front of Axon here, but Kyan Lati right in front of him as well. It's going to be very tricky to hang on to this or even get past.
Yeah, it's tricky now at this stage of the racetrack to just slither away through. Final corner really is going to be your best bet, but that really is not a clear-cut overtaking opportunity as they round their way now to Hawthorne Bend, towards Westfield Bend as well, and make their way back towards the start-finish line. But meanwhile, as these guys are battling their way through, we've got the battle for the lead going into the final corner. Now, Callum Cripps and Luke Mitchell have been going at it all race long. Luke Mitchell only needed to get himself inside the top 10 to confirm himself as the champion. Callum Cripps has been his closest competitor all season long, but it will be Luke Mitchell who crosses the line in second, and that will be enough for him to wrap up the title here in the T6 TC Championship. What a season it's been for him. He's still got one more race to try and hammer home his advantage, but a P2 will see him to the top of the tree and winning a C5 Cammu wheelbase and a wheel. So fair play to Luke Mitchell. I'm sure he will be delighted. We've got Callum Wilson along the podium, Trebek and Kyan Lati in the top 5, Mrak ahead of Axon crucially in the battle for P3, but we'll run all the way down to John Pound, who after a qualifying ban will find himself on reverse grid pole. We'll have to see what John can do, because John, it's fair to say, hasn't got many points this season. He's only got about 15.
Yeah, it's interesting, that one. It was he wasn't on the reverse grid pole, so I think something might have happened to David Zerwes there towards the back end, and he's just managed to sneak that in, but he'll be very happy knowing that he's now starting on the front row for the next race.
Well, indeed. All of these guys will be in the reverse grid, with the top 12 being reversed. But in the end, it was the winner in Callum Cripps. Another win for him. Really has been an impressive display this season, the second half of the season. But it's going to come up just short because our champion is Luke Mitchell. P2 is enough to claim him the crown. Those two will start in 11th, 12th for race number 2. Callum Wilson on the podium again. It's his third P3 in a row and his fourth podium of the season. He's looking to get himself inside the top 6 in the championship and doing well to get himself ever closer. Oli Kyan Lati was just behind Simon Trebek for 4th and 5th, with Gaspar Murak and Alan Axon 6th and 7th. Tamenga, Taylor and Osborne in 8th, in 9th and in 10th. We'll roll on our results page to see George Prieto picking up 5 points for P11. John Pound and David Zerwes picking up 4 and 3 for 12th and 13th. And then our final 3. Reda Uhalal, Yaroslav Fides and Paul Amos running out the 16 cars who finished that opening race. Now, top 12 will be reversed. Only 4 won't be in that reverse grid. It means you're not going to want to go too far. We'll have a short break now as we get ourselves ready for race 2. But we'll see you in about 5 minutes' time to see who can win the final race of the season. Welcome back then, everybody, to Brands Hatch for the final race of the season, round 16 out of 16. We've just seen an incredible race for round number 15 of 16, and now it's final. It is time for the final 25 minutes and to decide who is going to finish exactly where in the championship. We've still got P3 up for grabs. We've still got the likes of P6 up for grabs in the championship, P10 as well. So a lot to still be decided. I am still Darragh Thacker, alongside Ashley Denman in the commentary box, and Ashley will be getting towards race number 2, reverse top 12. Couldn't get much more exciting than this.
No, it certainly couldn't, and well, I'm glad to hear that you are still Darragh Thacker. That's always good to know. But no, you are absolutely spot on. I mean, the first 2 spots, of course, Luke Mitchell, Callum Cripps, done and dusted, but 3rd position still up for grabs, and that's where the prizes are. That's between Gaspar Marak, Alan Axon. It's going to be down to those 2 of who can finish on that podium in the championship. We've got one race to decide it, so we are still going to get a showdown of sorts here for the final round of the season. I did say something like that was going to happen, didn't I, a few rounds ago? Just a shame it wasn't for the actual championship itself, but the podium still very important to me.
Yeah, you can't have it all, can you? But we are going to have a great race. 25 minutes to end this season, and we can have a quick little look at the grid, which will get us underway very shortly. It'll be John Pound on pole position here. He's not had any points this season, a really good opportunity. He's ahead of George Prieto, Jordan Osborne and Jason Taylor. All 4 of those drivers. I think that Jordan Osborne is the championship leader out of those 4. He's got 64 points. Temenga and Alan Axon are on row number 3 and 5th and 6th, with Gaspar Marak and Ollie Kai and Larty after a great battle between those 2 in 7th and in 8th. Simon Trebek found his way to 4th and by virtue is up into P9, with the podium sitters of Callum Wilson, Luke Mitchell and Callum Cripps reversed 10th, 11th and in 12th. Final 4 drivers: David Zerwes, Radio Halal, Yaroslav Fides and Paul Amos. Just missed out on that reverse grid, but we'll be seeing what they can do to try and pick up some final points for the season. Paul Amos only needs to get P15 to get himself into the positive territory for the season. Jason Taylor just needs to make sure, I really think, that he doesn't get too much of a points deduction to make sure he stays in the positive figures. But another couple of positions throughout the field still to decide. David Zerwes and Radio Halal, they look like they're trying to fight over P12 for the time being, so we'll see who can come out on top there. But still a lot to decide in the final race of the year.
Absolutely, it's going to be a thrilling showdown right to the very end. I really do want to keep my eye here on Gaspar Marak, where he is starting, because we saw in race number 1 he climbed 3 positions by, I think, the time we got around halfway through the first lap. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do here for race number 2 at the beginning, and that crucially could have an impact on the championship between him and Alan.
Yeah, and of course that battle for P3 worth £75 in your back pocket, courtesy of finishing P3 in the championship. £75 is the prize. P2, of course, is confirmed to be going to Callum Cripps. He's won himself £125, and Luke Mitchell has won himself a Cammus C5 DD wheelbase and wheel, but we've still got some points to hand out. The final race of the season will see who can get the final win. John Pound will be starting on pole position, George Prieto and Jordan Osborne, Jason Taylor. It's all the J's on the front 2 rows. We'll see who can come out of turn 1 in the lead. The 5 red lights are on, and we're racing for the final time in 2024 in T6TC. John Pound gets an absolutely glorious start ahead of George Prieto. Jason Taylor gets a good launch as well. He's gone around the outside of Jordan Osborne and is looking to try and overtake George Prieto, but Osborne gets the position back as they fan their way out through turn number 1. Callum Wilson's had a good start, as has Luke Mitchell, I do believe, as they're on their way down in towards Druids. In fact, Luke Mitchell has an awful start, dropping a couple of positions as they run their way through to the left-hander at turn number 3. But Osborne is ahead of Taylor. The big movers, though, Callum Wilson up 3 off the start.
Yeah, Callum Cripps as well, pretty much joining him. He's gained 2 and crucially ahead of Luke Mitchell as well in that one, as still scrapping it out there through Surtees and now on the run up towards Hawthorne Bend. They're probably going to want to sort it out by the time they get there, because there's normally only one proper racing line. But this is Jason Taylor going side by side with Osborne as they make their way through turn number 5 now. It's going to be rather tight on the exit, both navigating it through though rather well, and it's still not going to be over as they now come through turn number 6 and then into Dingle Dell, and Jason Taylor, I think, is just about got out in front of them.
Yeah, 17 laps is how long this race is going to be, so still a long time for these moves to come into fruition. But John Pound absolutely cruising out in front. He has got a grand total of 16 points this season. As it stands, he'll get another 20 for finishing in first. It'll be 21 momentarily when he crosses the line as well, because by virtue of leading the race on the opening lap, you're going to pick up the fastest lap, aren't you? So John Pound's having an absolute whale of a time in the final race of the season. Mind you, George Brietta has 17 points this season. He's currently picking up another 17 for P2. So really good positions for a couple of these guys to be in, but it can all change, and it has. Oh no, big crash in the background. That is going to be George Prieto off the circuit. Kayan Larty was involved in it as well, and I think Raider Uhalal was part of that collision right at the back of the field. Disaster for those guys, and just as I was praising how well that they were doing, John Pound, George Prieto and Kayan Larty have tumbled down the order.
I was just about to say John Pound was caught up in that as well, but we've now got a new leader in Jason Taylor, and look who's second place. It's good old Alan Axon, currently in his best position so far all season, if he can hang on to it there. Where's Gaspar Marak? He's down into 8th position. He's actually net lost from his starting grid, so not the ideal start he was looking for. He's even got Luke Mitchell, Callum Cripps in front of him, Callum Wilson as well. Those are very quick drivers indeed, as we saw from race number 1. This has just got very interesting indeed, because once again Axon in front and Marak with all the work to do, as he's going to be chasing him down for the entire race.
Yeah, this is really a good position for Alan Axon to be in. You've got the likes of Jason Taylor and Jordan Osborne, who, no disrespect to them whatsoever, are not as fast as the likes of Luke Mitchell, Cam Wilson, Callum Cripps, Gaspar Marak. So if Alan Axon has a little bit of a buffer here, he can try and pull away a little bit at the front of the field. Jordan Osborne, though, around the outside of Anton Temenga. Anton Temenga is no slouch by any consideration. So Temenga defending very nicely indeed. This is going to open the door for Callum Wilson to try and come down the inside, which I think he will do. Wilson claims the inside line. Mitchell goes out wide. Through comes Cripps. Through is looking like coming through Marak.
Yeah, they're all going to try and pile on in, because that's Mitchell very wide indeed after the very small contact between him and Wilson through Paddock Hill Bend. Now down towards Graham Hill. They're going in towards Surtees now. Luke Mitchell still holding on to 6th, and Cripps is behind, but they are going to be side by side here with Mitchell having that inside line. No way through there for Cripps, and now Gaspar Marak wants another go at it.
Marak will have a go down as they dip their way through Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorne Bend. Is there any move on at all to the inside for Luke Mitchell at Hawthorne Bend? He's going to stick his nose up the inside of Callum Wilson, and I think he's going to get this one done. My apologies, it's Callum Cripps as they run their way in towards the second part of the double right-hander, and Luke Mitchell will get that one done. A little bit wide though. Could that open the door? I don't believe it can. Callum Wilson applying the pressure to Anton Temenga. Meanwhile, in all of that, actually, Alan Axon's got the lead ahead of Jason Taylor, and is starting to pull away a touch.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I just noticed it myself that Axon has got the lead, and could you believe it? When he needs to pull something out the bag, he's doing just that, and I think the reverse grid, of course, helped him out in that regard. But he, it's one thing getting the good fortune, you still need to put in the hard work as well behind it. But Axon doing exactly what he needs to do. This is also a very good opportunity for Jason Taylor. He's currently, I think, only just got above the 0 mark, really, in the championship from the previous race. So if he could finish second here, that'd be a bag load of points he can finish the season on.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, fun little fact for you, Mitchell, Cripps and Marak, first, second and third in the championship, have never finished first, second and third in that order. Luke Mitchell hasn't actually finished ahead of Callum Cripps for first and second at all so far this season, but at the moment Mitchell, Cripps and Marak are 6th, 7th and 8th, and if it was finished like that, it would be the first time that they finished line of stern in championship order this season. Fun little fact for you. But that's definitely going to change with about 13 and a half laps still to run in this race. Jordan Osborne around the outside of Jason Taylor. Going to get this one done? No. Taylor defending the inside line valiantly and will stay in the lead of the race. All of this fighting is allowing Alan Axon to try and claw his way ever further in front. If he was to stay right here in the lead, Gaspar Marak would need to finish second to have a chance of holding on to those £75 for P3 in the championship.
Yeah, you would have thought Jason Taylor is Alan Axon's teammate by the current driving he's showing off. His defensive skills once again coming into play, as that's a sign barrelling down the straightaway there. I wonder who's chucked that onto the circuit. We saw a bit of grass kick up. Thankfully it's gone already, so it won't be interfering with the driver's view anymore, as Jordan Osborne did get through though on Jason Taylor, I believe, into Clark Corner there, the final curve before you come over this start-finish line. There's still drivers battling for position up and down the grid here. This is Callum Cripps we're looking at now.
Yeah, and Cripps looking to get this move done. Can he get it? Let's see. As we work our way up the hill, he'll get it done. Morak is looking for the move on the inside. Aggression from Gasper Morak. He's pushing Anton Semenga a little bit wide, and he's going to pick up the position thanks to doing so. Druid's working very nicely for Gasper Morak, and he's back up into P7. He gained a couple of positions off the line, lost them at the end of lap 1, and is gaining them back again, exactly where he started, still down in P7.
Yeah, Jason Tate, he's going to have a tough race here, I think, this second one. He's obviously started, I think, 4th. He got up to 1st at one point with the collision we had at Paddock Hill Bend. He's now really having to show all of his defensive driving capabilities that he can do. But at the moment, it seems like a bit of a losing battle. That's 2 cars through into one corner. Not quite done and dusted yet, though, for Luke Mitchell, as he has a little bit of a jab at Jason Taylor, and because of that, Cripps is through as well, and Morak. So Jason Taylor, he's becoming a bit of a sinking ship at the second.
Yeah, it's not looking too good for Jason Taylor, and going wide again is just going to cost him even more time in position 6 on Anton Semenga, who gets that one done on Jason Taylor, and David Zerwes will be the next to have a bite. But Luke Mitchell up into P4, doing really well to try and get himself back onto the podium in what is really a championship procession for him. But of course, for Cripps and for Morak particularly, it's getting him closer to Alan Axon, which is where he needs to be. And I think he wouldn't mind the likes of Osborne and Wilson getting past Alan Axon. But with Jordan Osborne, I do believe being the teammate to Alan Axon, I can't see too much cooperation happening between Osborne and the rest of the pack behind.
I think it's actually Simon Trebek is Axon's actual teammate, but they are under the same team banners, so I can't imagine a reason why potentially Osborne wouldn't help out Axon in this situation, even though they are technically not under the same team, but you know, same banner and all. I'm sure they'll be helping. It's almost like a Red Bull and Racing Bull situation, isn't it, in that aspect? You know, they are technically 2 different teams, but also under a bit of the same umbrella. But Callum Wilson is not going to worry about it too much, because he's still going to try and fight his way through. Then on Osborne, it felt like a little bit of a forceful move, that one, but it does seem pretty good in terms of the rule book, and Jordan Osborne not going to give it up either. He's going to try and fight it back here. That's a bit too much though, and now Luke Mitchell's going to get in on it.
And Luke Mitchell isn't going to be hanging around, oh my word, very squirrely as he works his way through the left-hander at Sterling's. He's now going to go through clearways towards Clark Curve, ducking and diving. Jordan Osborne trying to make his way back down the inside. Is that? No, it's Callum Cripps, I should say. Trying to find his way back down the inside, getting a little bit of contact, going a little bit wide. Back comes Luke Mitchell. It's all happening here as we go down towards turn 1. It's a Noah's Ark formation nearly. 2 by 2. Back up the inside goes Callum Cripps, and the 2 drivers who've been fighting it out for the championship over the past month or so are still fighting it out, even when all is said and done.
Oh, it's so funny. If only, you know, we had these 3 still fighting it out for the championship. You know, you've got Morak right there as well, who, funnily enough, I think he's just lost the position there to Simon Trebek. That was a good opportunistic move into Druids, but they are really giving it their all right up until the last. And look at that, diving late. Down the inside goes Callum Cripps on the car in front of him. Luke Mitchell had a little look, but had to think better of it, because Callum Cripps was trying to just make the move there on Osborne. Osborne doing his utmost at the second to try and hang on to that 3rd position. Oh, but it could all be for naught in the end, but so far doing a stellar job. Yeah,
and just continuing on as you know, grass and dirt being kicked up all over the place, and we've still got 10 laps at the end of this one to run to the end of the race. Good news all of this though for Alan Axon. He's now 4 seconds in the lead, looking for his first win of the season, a win that would give him £75 in his back pocket, wide from a couple of drivers. I can't actually see that was in the background. I feel it was Jason Taylor going wide. Indeed, David Zerwes is through and up into P9 now, but you know, some drivers are struggling, some drivers are thriving, not least Callum Cripps up into P3 and trying to pressure for P2 now.
It's an impressive comeback, isn't it? Same with his teammate Wilson. I'm pretty sure they've already won the team standings, but if they haven't, then this is probably going to cement it for them as we come through Paddock Hill Bend for the 8th time. Alan Axon still has a nice little lead there from Wilson, and then Cripps behind him. There's Jordan Osborne still in 4th position at the moment. Mitchell unable to find a way through, and that has closed the gap back up, because Morak has got through on Simon Trebek and closed on him once again.
And they will continue on now as they run their way towards a tricky part of the racetrack, but an overtaking point all the same as they go down through Pilgrim's Drop and towards Hawthorne Bend. So opportunities are approaching as Jaroslav Fides tries to get in on the action between Jason Taylor and David Zerwitz. Fides around the outside is going to get that move done well before the corner, and Fides inside the top 10. Jason Taylor is plummeting down the order now.
Yeah, he's really struggled. I think after those, the first few, what you would consider the front runners made their way through. I think it's just sort of got to him a little bit, and the pressure. I mean, he shouldn't have the pressure on him now, but I think it just came a little bit too much in the end, and unfortunately still losing out a little bit. But hopefully he can have a good battle back there with Fides and Zerwitz. I think that's more sort of where he was in the first race, so hopefully he'll get some good racing back in before the season is out. But jumping back here to Simon Trebek, currently sat in 7th. Pretty good result from him there, even if he does finish there, sorry. Yeah, look, here we go, Jason Taylor back from on Fides then, down towards turn number 1.
Yeah, and Taylor's going to get that move back on Fides and will put himself back inside the top 10, and Fides will have to settle for P11 for the time being. Osborne still trying to keep himself in the battle, but the likes of Mitchell, Mrak, Trebek, it is a high quality field that is coming through, but he's doing a very good job to stay in P5. Alan Axon has shipped nearly a second to Callum Wilson. I think that will worry him a touch. I don't think he'll enjoy losing that time, especially considering that he needs every point he can get in his battle with Gasper Morak. He's currently 8 points safe, but that can, you know, disappear pretty quickly indeed.
The only thing I would say that, you know, it goes into Axon's favour. I might come back to that in a second, because there goes Gasper Morak around the outside of Jordan Osborne through Hawthorne Bend. Osborne not giving it up though now through the next right-hander in towards Dingle Dell. They're still going to be side by side, and Temenga's going to try and find a way through at the same time. There's Sheen Curve. Morak has lost the position to Osborne. Is he going to lose another though to Temenga? Round the outside goes Temenga, sweeping through, takes the position. That was a very nice move indeed.
Yeah, that was Simon Trebek going around the outside, actually. Of course, same livery. Oh, I do not blame you, same livery on the cars. And there's 3 of them that look identical as they run their way across the start-finish line. Osborne, Trebek, then Morak in the middle between himself and then Temenga. Here comes Trebek on the inside of Osborne. And Trebek has basically been let through, I think. Oh! And Gasper Morak, I really thought that was going to be a disaster. That wasn't as bad as I first expected. Trebek is through ahead of Osborne, but Morak is not going to be pleased that it was easier for one and not for him. He's sent it late. There's no contact, I don't think. What a move from Gasper Morak in the end. Oh no.
A little dive there. God, absolutely trying to send a message to not come through. I feel sorry for him here. It looks like they're ganging up on him, the poor lad. Gasper Morak has got 3, you know, teammates around him, absolutely trying to gang up on him by the looks of things. He's still holding his own though. He's back up to 6. Simon Trebek is leading this little train. So Morak still with a bit of work to do. But, you know, think about it. All of these guys, they're trying to help their teammate in Alan Axon take that 3rd in the championship.
Oh, no doubt about it. But the only issue is for like Jordan Osborne, his race really in that regard is now run, so he won't be able to do too much more to support his teammate off now, dropping down a little bit further, and again, no disrespect at all, but it's just some of the pace that's been on display from the likes of Morak, from the likes of even Trebek tonight after the P4 in the opening race has been scintillating, so I think they will start to pull away a touch. It has been a great race from a lot of these guys. You can see the position changes. They are kind of where they were at the end of race number 1. Of course, Wilson was P3, now P2. Cripps was P1, now P3. Mitchell was P2, now P4. So really good work from those guys to get themselves onto the back of Axon. And I suspect we're going to have a battle for the lead before the end.
Oh, I suspect we will. However, I would say Axon, he's held fast so far. We've had 2 laps now where it's been at 3 seconds, so they're not catching him at an alarming rate. And so actually Axon holding his own at the very moment. You know, he seems to have maybe responded a little bit. Small time losses here and there, but not masses in the grand scheme of things. So Axon looking pretty safe at the moment, and potentially on for his first win. I don't want to jinx it for him, you know, commentator's curse and all, but it's looking pretty good at the second. And you know, we've seen how hard it is to overtake around here, so if they do catch up to him, he might be able to still hold on to it. But you know, his teammates here doing their absolute best. You can see the time between Trebek and Mitchell slowly increasing as they're trying to hold up Gaspar Marak as best they can, all within the confines of the rules, of course, just to help their teammate as much as possible.
Yeah, but time is really ticking away. It's of the essence now, isn't it? So you can help your teammate as much as you can, but you want an extra couple of points for your own points tally, I'm sure, with what will be 6 laps to go when they cross the line. Axon's gap to Wilson has stayed pretty stagnant in the last few laps. Axon has been able to manage it a little bit better. Mack not really making any indents on Simon Trebek means that for the time being, Alan Axon looks somewhat safe in P3 in the championship. He's got a 7-point advantage as things stand, but it can change, especially if he loses the lead and gains a position or two. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. But for Wilson, Cripps and Mitchell, kind of as you were for race number 1, these 3 forward over the podium, they're going to fight over it again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the gap is slightly spaced between them, about half a second from each of them, and that's a nice sort of gap to have, really. You're not getting too affected by the wash of the car in front. You can spot your braking zone somewhat easy enough. Not too many distractions. But I mean, Luke Mitchell here looking increasingly closer to Cripps, maybe thinking about a move in the next coming lap or so. But he doesn't need to do anything. He's already sewn up his championship. Cripps has already got second, and this is just for honour at this point.
Yeah, 5 laps to go in just a second, a flapper if you will, to the end of the season, but this battle for P2 has been monumental, and it really does show how good this season has been with Wilson, with Cripps, with Mitchell. Yes, it's not necessarily been too close in the championship, but Luke Mitchell had a monumental advantage over Callum Cripps after the first 2 rounds. Of course, Cripps it didn't attend Donington Park, so after round 4 had a grand total of 4 points. Luke Mitchell had something like 68 points, so it has been close since then, it really has, and the toing and throwing of the championship has been an absolute joy to watch, and to see them fighting over P3 in the final race of the season with 7 minutes on the clock really does epitomise how good this championship has been.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I think almost so their positions in a way kind of epitomises it further. Callum Cripps, ever since returning after Donington, he's basically won everything almost, and Luke Mitchell's sort of, it felt like he's been following him for the rest of this season, but he's been doing exactly what he needs to do to make sure he was champion by the time we saw the end of the last race. Done it with 1 race to spare, and fair play to Luke Mitchell. He really has done a stellar job, race on race. He hasn't won everything, but he's always been in that podium fight, and sometimes that is enough.
And a lot of these drivers will have felt like their seasons would have been enough. I think a few drivers will be a little bit disappointed with how their season's gone. I think Gaspar Marak definitely was hoping to get towards the title, especially after winning the opening race with the pole and fastest lap, and really starting to stake his claim for the championship. It's just not really materialised since then, but I think a lot of drivers will be very, happily pleased with how their seasons have gone. Callum Cripps has, since the end of round 2, won by far the most amount of points of anybody else. Luke Mitchell, by virtue of doing well in those opening 2 rounds, has been able to hold on to the championship lead, and everyone's going to have something to go away from this championship with, and hopefully we'll see them in the coming year. Of course, in the coming year, 2025, we have got some exciting championships coming up, actually, don't we? The T6TC Touring Championship, and the T6992, the Porsche GT3 Championship, alternating Sundays from February through to June. £300 worth of the prize pool on rFactor 2 as well. I think a lot of these guys are going to be attending that, and confidence is going to be coming from this championship, no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If anything, it kind of builds on from this championship, especially the touring car one, because effectively that is what these are. As Luke Mitchell there having a look down the inside of Callum Cripps into 30s, that was touch and go. With Callum Wilson right in front of him, this is very close here in the closing stages. If these two fight too much, then the win is not going to be on the cards for them, because Alan Axon still has a 2-second advantage. You can see him there in the foreground, the background I should say, from the angle, just slightly, nice little buffer for himself, so he'll be happy with that, but still needs a little bit of work to do before he sees the checkered flag, and he's got the quickest guys quickest guys of the season bearing down on him.
Not long left though, 3 laps to go when they cross the line. Of course, it's about 1 minute 30 for each lap, so we should get the white flag with roughly 1 minute left on the clock, but it means that we have 3 laps to go, and Alan Axon going to be hanging on for dear life. Situation, if Alan Axon was to finish P4 in this race, he would not get P3 in the championship. Gasper Rack would get it on countback, so he needs to keep himself ahead of at least one of these three as they fight their way towards Druidge. Luke Mitchell is going to go for the inside line. This fighting would help out Alan Axon staying in the lead. Inside for Luke Mitchell on Callum Grips. What a move, beautifully done. He's up into P3.
Yeah, lovely stuff from Luke Mitchell there. Took full advantage of the good exit out of Paddock Hill. Ben kind of was in the making all from that first corner and yeah, executed, you would say, to perfection and got the move done very nicely. Yeah, brilliant. He's on the podium once again. He's now going to try and chase down Cripps' teammate in Wilson, see if he can get onto that second step of the podium. But laps are closing down quite fast here. Only 2 left to go when we do get to the start-finish line. So yeah, he is running out of time, but he's still in this fight. He's still in a great position.
Yeah, let's see if this will continue in this manner or whether it will change around in the final couple of minutes as well. Quick little bits of information on a couple of other drivers down the order. John Pound back up into 11th after, of course, the difficulties he had on the start. There's a yellow flag out on the circuit. Who is that? That's the driver currently here. That's Anton Temenga. Something has happened to Anton Temenga. He's tumbling down the order. Maybe some contact, maybe a wide moment, but Temenga will be outside the top 10 in double quick time if he has a little bit of damage. But through onto the penultimate lap we go. Mitchell is on a charge. He's going for P2. There is Temenga. Awful damage onto the car, but Luke Mitchell can't quite get the move done at turn 1. Callum Cripps is on the tail though.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a good run out of the first corner there, did Cripps. I don't think you're going to really do it around the outside unless your teammate can slow him down a little bit on the apex, then you might have a chance. But still no way through there for Cripps, and some brilliant driving from all of these guys out there on the circuit. It's been absolute joy to watch them race this season, you know, as we're getting into the last few laps now, and you know, even right to the very last, you know, the last breath of this championship, they're still going at it. It's absolutely fantastic to watch.
I think that there was an issue between Temenga and Jordan Osborne. There may have been contact between those two, as Osborne's now in the pit lane, and it is not looking too good at the moment. Jason Taylor's also in the box as well, so a few drivers who were looking like they won't be finishing the race. Paul Lamos looks like he's set on to get himself above the 0 points mark this evening, which is great to see at the final stage of this season. Penultimate time that we'll see this little battle for P2 work its way through Stirlings, then through Clearways into Clark Curve. But Luke Mitchell is hounding Wilson. Cripps is ready to pick up the pieces though.
Absolutely, and all of this fighting is allowing Axon to increase that gap once again. It's up to 2.5 seconds. I think it even got close to the 3-second mark for a brief moment. But you know, it fluctuates those you know, timing towers, so it's hard to tell as that's going to be a late move from Cripps. He's on the grass, he's lost control of the car, but managed to sweep it back up. Very good car control from Cripps. I can't believe he quite hung on to it.
Could you say he was crip walking through turn number 1 as he slid as the rear end left him for dead. Very lucky to hold it as well though for Callum Cripps. It's still in P4. Gasper Rack wouldn't have minded a position or two as these guys still fight it out. But where else can he make a move on the final lap?
Well, you know, your best chance now, I think, is potentially in the final corner itself. Turn number 10 of Clark Curve. The only other real opportunity is if you can get a run around the back here in the corner before. So that'll be turn number 9 then of... I'm trying to remember the corner name now, apologies. Stirlings it is. I think they're your best chances, but it's going to be close.
Yeah, you could just see in the foreground, that was Jason Taylor. He's a lap down on the leaders, but he's just behind Alan Axon, so he will finish a lap down, but he will finish the race. But these are the final stages of the season. It really epitomises how close, how tight, how good the battling has been. All 8 weeks of the championship. Luke Mitchell has won the title, and Callum Cripps has come up just short, but that's not going to stop them going side by side into the final corner. While they do that, Alan Axon, he's been Mr. Consistent. He's had 3 podiums, best finish of 3rd. He's going to get the win to close out the season, and it's a win worth £75. He'll finish P3 in the championship, and full credit to Alan Axon, who fully deserves to be inside the top 3 after the consistent season that he's had. Callum Wilson and Cripps just about pipped Mitchell at the end of the race to pick up P3. Gasper Marak will finish 5th, with Trebek and Zoes in 6th and 7th. What an ending to the season, though, Ashley. It really, really was a great way to sum up the championship.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Alan Axon, though, I'm going to come back to, because, you know, all season long, like you say, best position of 3rd, and you know, it's been one of those seasons where he's just constantly there, but he just needs that last little bit to get to the top. And yeah, final race of the season finally does it for him. He's going to be absolutely buzzing, and you know, it was crucial. It got him some prize money as well.
It did, and I think he's going to be a happy boy about that one, no doubt about that. But I mean, what a season it's been from everybody up and down the field. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys can maybe approach 2025. Of course, slightly different championships, bi-weekly events, but that will come in the future. For the time being, though, here are the results. Of course, it was a great win in the end for Alan Axon, who took home his first win of the season. Callum Wilson was P2, ahead of Callum Cripps and Luke Mitchell. Gasper Marak and Simon Trebek 5th and 6th in the end, with David Zoes, Jaroslav Fives, John Pound, and Anton Temenga rounding out our top 10. In the end, just outside that top 10, but still picking up a couple of points, was George Prieto, Paul Amos, and Jason Taylor. But sadly for Jordan Osborne, Rodeo Halal, and Oli Kayanlati, they did not see the checkered flag. But what a season it's been, Ashley. 8 rounds of really high-intensity action and some great ways to finish the championship for a few of these drivers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was gutted I didn't get to be here right from the very beginning, because what I did see from about just under the halfway point, it's been absolutely ecstatic. I've been so happy that you've been invited here to join you for the ride, and well, I can't wait to next season, shall we say. I'm excited for the schedule. I'm excited for the action to all unfold all over again.
We will, of course, thanks at the end of the season have to go to our sponsors at Phoenix Sim Racing and at Nerd PC, who have made these broadcasts possible, who have made the prizes possible, and who really help in all parts of the championships. We really do thank our sponsors. Of course, massive shout out to Rich Wetherall, who organises the league. He runs the broadcast. He is an absolute hero and really deserves all the credit he gets. But of course, thanks to all of you for watching at home. It's been a great pleasure to be broadcasting 8 weeks of some fantastic action here in the T6TC Championship on rFactor 2. Of course, we're going to be moving on to rFactor 2 fully in 2025, and a lot of these drivers are going to be a big part of that. I will finish the stream by making a point of some of the top drivers in the championship in the end, because, of course, Luke Mitchell was our champion. 248 points, provisionally, of course, is what he picked up. Callum Cripps P2 comfortably with 213, and Alan Axon in P3. I think the only time he was P3 in the championship after any single race was the last race, and that's all that matters. He had 171 points and has £75 in his back pocket because of it. Gasper Marak and Bobby Vakinov in 4th and 5th. Callum Wilson, resurgent at the end of the season, picked up 6th in the championship. Kayan Lati and Papranopoulos 7th and 8th. Temenga and Simon Trebek rounded out our top 10 in the championship. Bit of a shout out to Jaroslav Fides, got his best result in the final race of the season. Same can be said for John Pound. Jason Taylor got his best result of the season here tonight, as did David Zoes. It really has been a great night, been a great season as well. Delighted to have had all of your company, and we'll see you in 2025 when T6 Motorsport returns for some new championships.